Lowry, do you see the problem physically I'm talking about is in the United States or is out of the United States, basically in Israel? The problem with Donald Trump, and then because we know that he's desperate, he wants to get out of this war. But what would be the main obstacle? That obstacle is in the United States. I'm talking about the people who are supporting Israel, or Israel itself is the main obstacle.
Let me offer one thing before you go, Larry. And I'm only offering this because Josh Paul had just sent me the latest. He's got an anti-AIPAC pact going, and he just sent me the latest analysis that they've done of this move in the Congress in the NDAA, just to show you how much we have not defeated this relationship. The Congress is moving in the NDAA for 27, the defense budget for 27. They're moving to mask all the arms sales to Israel, take it out of the State Department process, take it out of the foreign policy process, and put it strictly under DOD without any oversight whatsoever. I know about this because Rumsfeld tried to do this in a narrow way. That tells you we are still connected lock, stock, and barrel to Israel. That means there will be no visibility for arms sales. We will be in the most unique relationship we've ever been with any country with regard to arms sales. We'll be the same. Lockheed Martin will be working for Israel and Israel for Lockheed Martin, and so on.
Yeah, what he said. Well, yeah, look, the primary pressure on Trump is it is being channeled through the domestic Zionists, both Jewish and Christian, and you're getting it through the likes of Lindsey Graham, even Richard Blumenthal on the Senate side. The money side, you got Miriam Adelson, you got Bill Ackman. So you've got all of this pressure on Trump from and from the neoconservatives too. They're not relenting. But what they're up against now is the mask. AIPAC. In the past, if you tried to argue, as Mearsheimer and as John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt did in their book, that the AIPAC exerted all this enormous influence, and they were, attacked and to attempt to ostracize it. No, that's not true. That's a conspiracy theory. Well, that whole conspiracy theory got ripped apart with what was done to Thomas Massie. They didn't mask it at all. They tried, and they got exposed. So the turn against Israel among the under 50 crowd in particular, but I'd say even people that are the age of Colonel Wilkerson and myself, there's a growing number of us that are just saying this is a toxic relationship, and it has to end. So Israel will continue to score some of these Pyrrhic victories for right now, but I think what the direction we're heading is that the United States will be in a position where it's no longer going to be committed to the complete defense of Israel, and Israel is going to be. I question how long it can survive under the strain that it's facing. Because it does not have unlimited military resources, and so they can bomb the hell out of Lebanon, but if what they're trying to do on the ground, Hezbollah is lighting them up every day with these drones. Israel already has suffered. They're suppressing their casualties. They're suppressing the number of killed and wounded, but even the number that have been publicly reported exceeds the number that were wounded in the 2006 invasion into southern Lebanon. So they're already suffering more casualties on that front. They've tamped down. They try to pretend that there's just only a couple of dozen killed in action. Nonsense. The number of these drone strikes, you see them over and over, and they're hitting the back of these vehicles, hitting tanks. They took out an Iron Dome the other day. So this illustrates it. So Israel cannot sustain this kind of loss. They're too small a country, and they don't have the economic basis to do it. Is this the one where you see the guys scrambling? Yeah, they're scrambling out, jumping out the back, and you got at least two that were still caught in there, two or more. So, this is nothing. Israel's never faced anything like this, and they obviously have learned no lessons from the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
There may be no state of Israel as we presently know it left to share, defend, or sell arms to.
Yeah.
Colonel, yesterday one of the Israeli commanders said that it was when this whole game of drones started, we thought it's a technical issue for Israel. Right now, with the use of drones and the way they're using these drones against air defense system, communication system, soldiers, and it's becoming a strategic problem for Israel, because for the time being they have no solution for that.
Yeah, and that's the reason I'm being told I won't say strategic, but it has strategic implications, but certainly the operational tactical reason that he said, go. Don't stop at the next river. Don't stop at Beirut. Go. Go until you've rooted them all out, and you ain't going to do that. When you go like that and you have a mission of rooting them all out, they just fall in behind you. They go around your flanks and fall in behind you and do it to you again from the rear. I mean, this is untenable. And it's going to turn out like it did in 82 when we essentially had to go in and bail them out and got ourselves into a real mess. Had Battleship New Jersey in the Eastern Med hurling 16-inch rounds into the hills. Just stupid, dumb. But we created that situation on behalf of Israel because we had to pull their ass out.
And let's recall that as a consequence of that intervention, the U.S. Embassy was blown up in Beirut.
Yep.
And then the Marine, they call it the Marine Barracks, but the location where the U.S. Marines and French Marines were based, they both took some significant hits, 241 dead Marines. So yeah, this is, and when Reagan agreed to that, apparently I'm told that Cap Weinberger just was livid. He was not consulted.
One Marine told me that day, 243, I think, Marines and 2 Navy corpsmen, that day was equal to the first 4 hours on Tarawa.
Mm-hmm.
So, hell of a casualty rate.
Larry, today I talked with Ambassador Chas Freeman. You were talking about how Israel is trying to see the whole region. And when it comes to this guy, Israeli spy, American-born Israeli spy, Jonathan Pollard, he said that the question right now for Israel is the next round of the fight, which is against Turkey and Egypt. And this guy, as Ambassador Chas Freeman mentioned, is representing majority of the people in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have to hear these people. How do they feel? How they think? How they see the situation? And here is what he said.
We don't think geostrategically. Forget about Jolani. Forget about Donald Trump. I am principally worried, first of all, for the welfare of our Druze brothers across the border, but secondarily, if Jolani and his Islamists actually reoccupy that area,
that they will.
We will have the Turks. We will have the Turks right on our border.
We eventually will, and I'm not so sure that we will have as easy a time with the Turks as we've had with the Iranians. I've been following Turkish military doctrine, and the strongest army in the Middle East.
The storm is coming.
Yes, of course. And they're a member of NATO.
And even worse, they're a member of NATO. So I look at Iran as a problem we absolutely have to finish, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Gaza, same thing, and the Hezbollah.
Why? Why am I fixated on this now? Because we have to be prepared for the next war, which will be probably against Turkey and Egypt. So
let's hope not.
I hope not also, but we, hope, you remember, it was the last demon out of Pandora's box, and there's a reason for that.
In Israel, to be a pontificator like that, do you have to be a tub of lard?
Yeah.
I mean, Job of the Hut.
With a beard.
Yeah, with a beard.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a level of lunacy, that is difficult to describe in words. I mean, we sit there and watch this and think, he's just an aberration. Unfortunately, he's not.
No.
And for him to sit there and think that Israel can fight, engage in a war with Turkey, I mean, the Turkish army is, de jure, the second largest army in NATO. I say de jure. De facto, it was Ukraine. Ukraine had the second largest army, but wasn't an official member of NATO. But the Turks, the Turks are actually, unlike the Israeli defense forces, the Turks are actually competent, and they have a professional army. The Israelis do not have a professional army. They are largely a reservist group, and the lack of leadership, the lack of adequate command and control, the lack of training, they're just they're more like a marauding band of thugs, and it's been reflected in how they operate in the field. So for him to sit there, and I don't think he's again some outlier. It is a reminder to people that even if Bibi Netanyahu goes, the threat that Israel poses to the region remains. And it's going to remain as long as the Zionists are in control. And that's why, what Iran's calling for the destruction of that version of Israel, a Zionist version of Israel that is an ethno-supremacist state. And it is it's along the same lines as what Nazi Germany was. Because, when the Nazis passed the Nuremberg laws, those Nuremberg laws were identifying, basically punishing a group of people for their, genetic identity. And Israel is engaged in sort of the same phenomena. They mask it a little bit with, as long as you are, quote, Jewish, but even if you're born Jewish and convert to Christianity, then you're excluded. But again, it's this ethno identity that rewards certain groups of people and punishes others. And that is, as long as that exists, that's going to be a toxic effect upon world peace.
Yeah.
Yesterday, on a podcast, Nima, I suggested to my interviewer that Turkey might be a element in this if Netanyahu goes too far north. And I got these looks of total disbelief. You don't think that would really happen, do you? I said, not only do I think that might happen, I would hit them in the rear if I were Egypt. Mm-hmm. I would coordinate with Ankara and I would hit them in the rear. And I'd ask Baghdad if they wanted to come along for the ride, because never will this state of Israel, as polluted and, as Larry has described well, foul as it is, been more vulnerable. And if you want to get rid of it, and you want to get rid of it decisively, that would be a perfect way to do it.
But necessarily that doesn't the way that Benjamin Netanyahu feels about Israel. He says Israel is no longer merely a regional power. It's already a global power. Yeah. I don't know in what sense he's feeling that way. In
the sense that he's tucked into
so far.
He's tucked into a fading empire, but nonetheless an empire. That's why he can feel that way. That's why he can say those things. And I actually think he was smart enough to be before we got really deeply buried in this last aspect of this struggle, he was going around to other capitals, checking out whether or not he would be able to shift his flag when the time came that the empire the other way was fading so fast that he no longer wanted to be a part of it. The man's not stupid. He's not stupid. You go back and look at his trips around the world at a time of some criticality, and yet he was going to these other places ostensibly to seek their help with his current struggles. But what he was doing in part was looking for new campgrounds, new places, new super daddies. Because they can't do it by themselves. I mean, they may have aspirations to eventually be able to be, the new empire in the world and have it be Jewish. But I think that's a long way away, even if it were achievable. And he's got to have a lot of help along the way. So he's very shrewd about looking for new help, just as Mohammed bin Salman is in Riyadh. This whole region has got to either change dramatically and become more or less self-sufficient. That is to say, get rid of the potentates and let the people begin to have something to say about their government. Or it's got to find a new daddy to protect them in their current configuration. Because we are done.